Everybody, thank you very, very much for coming here today for our May training. Okay, the weather's getting a little bit hotter, so we appreciate you coming here in the nice hot weather. Today we have a very, very special training. We have, oh my goodness, we have a broken laser. Okay, today we have three trainers. We will introduce Alex and Seamus as well. And also, we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic, talking about global education. Maybe you remember in January, we talked about studying abroad for studying English conversation. And we were talking about this country here. Do you remember what country did we talk about in January? Do you remember? Very good. Philippines. Yeah, in January we talked about studying in many countries here. For example, England, America, Australia, Canada, and the Philippines. We were talking about this in January. Today, we are going to be talking about studying abroad at university. Many of our Gnoble students, they want to study overseas. They want to study at university. So we will be talking about that today. Well, we'll be talking about this because our students will have many questions, right? Our students want to know, should I go to Canada or Australia? Should I go to England or America? So today we will be talking about studying at universities in other countries. Today we will talk about five main points. One, the university industry. We will talk about the best universities in the world. The 100 best universities in the world. We will talk about Japanese international students. Japanese students going to study in America, England, many countries. We will talk about the cost, right? Do you think is it expensive or cheap to study overseas? Also, we'll be talking about university life. University in America is different than Japan, is different than England, for example. And also choosing a country. Which country should you choose? Should you go to Canada, America, England, Australia, the Philippines, right? So we'll be talking about different countries. So to start, we're going to introduce some new trainers here. And let's introduce Seamus!
Okay, hello, I'm Seamus. I'm from this place. Do you know where this is? Australia, very cool. Okay, I'm Seamus. I'm from Sydney. In Australia, I worked as a consultant. I have worked at Gnoble since last year. I work here in the training department and also at Gnokids. Thank you for coming today.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so it's nice to meet you. My name is Alex Rui. I'm from St. Paul, Minnesota in the United States. That's this beautiful city right here. And in 2008, I graduated from the University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee. And I studied print journalism, so writing for newspapers and magazines, and also English literature. And for 2 years, I was a journalist and an editor at a newspaper and a magazine in Wisconsin. And since 2009, I was an English teacher in Tokyo, and I have just joined Gnoble Group this year. So, like Seamus, I work in the training department and also at Gnokids. So it's nice to meet you all, and I look forward to working with you. So, let's begin. Let's begin with these questions. So I want to know, what do you think? Do many students study abroad in the world? What do you think? Every year, do many students go overseas to study abroad? How many students study abroad every year? What do you think?
50,000.
50,000? All right, well, let's take a look. It's kind of a hard question. Actually, this is the number of international students from the 1950s until today. And today, there are more than 800,000 international students study abroad every year. Right, so it's a huge number.
From Japan?
Oh, actually, not from Japan, in the world.
Oh.
Yeah, but later we'll look at Japanese students. That's a great question. This is the number of international students in the world. So, what do you think? Where do they go? What countries do people study in?
The U.S.
U.S.? Yeah.
Australia.
Australia, great, great. England, perfect, very nice. Well, this is the international student market share. So yes, you can see the United States has 16.6% of all international students in the world. Right? The United States is very popular for international students. Okay? But also the UK has 13%. It's also very popular for international students in the world. And over here, Australia has about 6.6%, Canada about 4.7%. Together, these four countries have 40.9% of all international students. So they're very, very popular places. Now, another way is the size of the industry. It's the percentage of total students. Right? Now, in this case, Australia is the most popular country for international students. Right? More than 20% of all students, university students in Australia, are from other countries. They're international students. But for example, the United States, the number is very low, just like Japan. And actually in Australia, 1 in every 5 students is from another country. It's an international students. It's very popular. But today, let's discuss these 4 countries. Let's talk about Canada, the United States, the UK, and Australia. So now, what do you think? What are the best universities in the world? What do you think? What are the best universities in the world? Yeah.
Harvard.
Harvard, yeah. Stanford.
Ooh, good one. Oxford.
Oxford, very good, very good. Well, there is a list of the top 100 universities in the world for teaching and research. But first, how many Japanese universities do you think are in the top 100? How many Japanese universities? 2, actually, you're right. There are 2, right? There's the University of Tokyo, which is number 23 in the world. And number 52 is the University of Kyoto. Okay. Now, let's talk about these 4 countries, right? The US, the UK, Canada, and Australia. Let's start with the US. Now, how many American universities are in the top 100?
32.
32? Is it higher or lower?
20.
20?
25.
25. Okay, good. So what are they? What are some examples?
MIT.
MIT, Princeton, yeah. Well, let's take a look. Actually, there are 44. 44 of the best universities in the world for teaching and research are in the United States. And here's the top 10. Of course, number 1, the California Institute of Technology, Caltech. Okay. Number 2 is Harvard. Number 4, Stanford. Number 5, MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Okay. Of course, Princeton, Berkeley, University of Chicago, Yale, UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles, and of course, Columbia, number 13. So there are many, many universities in the United States. Okay. What about the UK? Now, how many British universities are in the top 100?
12.
12. What are the most famous universities in England? Oxford, yeah. Cambridge, of course those 2 are always together, yeah. Edinburgh, oh good, yeah,
Whoa.
yeah, actually. Well, there are 10. there are 10 of the best universities in the world are in the UK. Of course, at the top of the list is Oxford. Okay? Of course, we also have Cambridge, right, Imperial College London, University College London, at the London School of Economics and Political Science. You're down here at the University of Edinburgh, you're right. Good. With the University of Manchester, Bristol, and Durham. Now, how about Canada? This is a hard question. How many Canadian universities are in the top 100? More than 10? Less than 10? Just 10? Good. What are they? Does anyone know? Well, don't worry, it's okay. That was news to me too. Well, there are 4. Right? There are actually 4 of the best 100 universities in Canada. Of course, number 20, the University of Toronto, is very famous. Number 31, the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. Right? Of course, McGill University in Montreal, and McMaster University in Hamilton, Ontario. Now, finally, let's talk about Australia. How many Australian universities are in the top 100? Well, let's take a look. Well, actually, there are 5. Here, come on, it's okay. There are 5 of the best universities in Australia. At the top of the list, sorry, Seamus, is the University of Melbourne, right, number 34. Number 48, the Australian National University, ANU. Of course, the University of Queensland, Brisbane. 72, the University of Sydney, your university, right? And number 91, Monash University in Melbourne. So there are actually 5 of the best universities in the world are in Australia. Now, today, let's talk about universities in these countries. Together, these 4 countries have 63 of the best 100 universities in the world. And so these 4 countries are a very popular choice for all international students. And just to remind you, they also have 40.9% of all international students in the world go to those 4 places. And the number of international students, again, is about 800,000 in the world. All right, so now, let's talk a little bit about Japanese international students. Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, hello everybody. I'm Seamus. I'm going to talk about Japanese international students. Okay, what do you think? Is studying abroad in another country popular for Japanese students? Let's look. Okay, this shows for 20 years the number of Japanese international students. So here in 2005, it was the most popular. There were 80,000 students in 1 year. And then, the number went down. And now it's 60,000. So less popular. But this is 2009. So we looked at more information and it went up. So it's becoming more popular again. So all students in the world like these 4 countries. They're the most popular for everybody. What about Japanese students? Where do they study? Let's check. Okay, so America is the most popular. China is number 2. And then England, Australia. Okay. So America is the most popular. Where do Japanese students study in America, in the US? Maybe New York, Los Angeles, Hawaii. Where do they study? These are the most popular places for Japanese international students. Number 1 is California. Number 2 is New York. And around here there are lots of popular places. New York, Massachusetts. Also Washington is popular. Seattle. Okay. So why are these places popular? Okay, so let's look. Okay, so these places are popular for Japanese students and all students. So all international students like these places. Let's look at the top 10 most popular universities. Number 1, University of Southern California. Number 2, University of Illinois. Number 3, Purdue. 4, New York, NYU. 5, Columbia University. 6, University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. 7, Northeastern. 8, University of Michigan. 9, Michigan State. And 10, Pennsylvania State University. So these areas are popular for everybody, Japanese and other countries. Let's look at the West Coast. So the West Coast has 2 very popular universities. It is popular because it's in Los Angeles, cool place. They have lots of different degree programs. You can study many, many, many things. It's very international. Lots of people live there from many countries. And they offer lots of help for international students. Let's look at the Midwest. There are many popular universities here too. They are popular because they have very good departments. For example, the University of Illinois has good science. Michigan State, number 9, has a good business department. These universities have many, many extra activities, sports, clubs. Okay, let's look at the East Coast. There are many popular universities here too. Why? Well, New York, so cool, right? These universities have a very good reputation. They're very famous and they're very good. For example, Columbia, number 5, is in the Ivy League. It's a very good university. These universities also offer financial assistance. Money, money, money. They give you money. And they're also very international. And they offer lots of help for international students. So this is why they are popular. Now Columbia is Ivy League. What is the Ivy League? The Ivy League is a group of the best universities in America. How many schools are in the Ivy League? There are 8. And these are the 8. Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Pennsylvania, Brown, Dartmouth, Columbia, and Cornell. They're the best. Okay, why is it called Ivy League? Well, that's ivy, and it's on the buildings. So, now let's talk about cost. So, which is the most expensive country to study abroad in? Okay, let's have a look. The most expensive is Australia, actually. Yes. It's still good. Okay. This is for 1 year, and it includes the university fee and cost of living, house, food, like that. Okay, if I was an international student in Japan, would it be more expensive or less expensive? Who thinks less? Okay, you're right. Japan is a lot cheaper for international students. These are in US dollars. In Japanese yen, this is the average cost for 1 year. So it's university, house, food, fun, like that. These are averages. Some universities are more expensive, some cities are more expensive. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So let's talk about university life now for a few minutes. Now, studying in those countries is a little different from studying at university in Japan. Of course, first, the classes may be a little different. For example, in the United States and in Australia, there are lots of small discussion classes in university. Now, these can be small groups like this one here. There's a lot of free discussion about the topic, and generally, they're less formal, more casual. Also, at overseas universities, many people can have a major and a minor. Like in the United States, a major is a main subject. Like I study math or I study chemistry, right? A minor is an optional, smaller subject. You can also study, and it can be anything, like chemistry and journalism or economics and history. It can be very interesting combinations. Also, for example, in the United States and the UK and Australia, there's lots of financial help, right? Studying abroad is very expensive. University is very expensive. For example, how many students, what percentage of students in the USA receive financial aid or help paying for college? Well, it's actually 66% of all students get financial help to pay for university. Remember, university is very expensive. Okay? Now, these can be a scholarship for the best students. The university will give them money to study. It can be student loans, they'll pay back later, and also work-study programs, where students have a part-time job and they are a student in a university at the same time. Now, also, these universities have lots of special clubs and organizations to join. They're very fun. It can be sports clubs or game clubs or culture clubs, even English language clubs. And of course, sports is also very, very popular, especially at American universities. In fact, 25 stadiums in U.S. universities sit more than 80,000 people like here. And very popular sports include football, basketball, baseball, and of course soccer. Now, let's talk about choosing the U.S., UK, Canada, or Australia. Now, reasons to choose the U.S. Of course, it's the highest quality. Remember, they have 44 of the best universities in the world. And they have the largest, most international student body. Remember, 16.6% of all international students go to America. And it has the most variety of location. America is a big country, right? There are lots of different places to study, right? If you like tropical beaches, you can study in Hawaii. And if you like big cities, you can go to New York. If you don't care about cold weather, you can go to my home. That's okay. Right? And there are lots of job opportunities as well. Actually, after graduation, you can get a work visa in your industry for 1 year. If you study engineering, you can become an engineer in the US for 1 year. Now, here are some examples. Of course, Harvard University. Very, very famous, right? Why? Well, it's the oldest university in the United States since 1636. Has a lot of famous former students, right? Of course, does anyone know this man right here? Is he? Well, that's Mark Zuckerberg. He made Facebook. He's the founder of Facebook. Of course, Bill Gates, former Vice President Al Gore, also went to Harvard University. And all total, has 21 Nobel Prizes came from Harvard University research. but the acceptance rate is 5.9%. That means Harvard says yes to 1 person in 17. So all of these people are rejected from Harvard. Only 1 person is allowed in. And the 1-year total cost is about 6.1 million yen. Right? It's very, very expensive. But 70% of the Harvard students receive financial aid because it is very expensive. Now remember, the most popular American university for international students is USC, the University of Southern California. Right? It's very popular with international students. It's in Los Angeles, which is a very exciting city. They have a big campus. There are 700 campus organizations and clubs. Many things to do for students. And of course, they also have a very famous football team, which is very popular for everyone. And their acceptance rate is 20%. So they say yes to about 1 in 5 applicants. But it's actually more expensive than Harvard. Right? It's about 6.3 million yen per year. Now, those are very popular examples. Another example would be from my home state, Minnesota, the University of Minnesota. Now, they actually have a very excellent research university. They have very famous business education and law schools. And they are actually ranked number 46 in the world. Right? And there are not as many international students. There are more opportunities to learn and practice English going to a university like this. And the 1-year total cost is only 3.2 million yen. It's much cheaper than those other universities. But the average winter temperature is about -9. So if you're comfortable with that, it's a good choice. Now, of course, in university, you can study many subjects. It's like history, economics, right, science. But in many overseas universities, you can also study very interesting topics or unique things. For example, at the University of Maryland in the United States, you can study golf course management. You can learn to manage a golf course. Or at Kansas State University, you can study bakery science. Sounds delicious. Okay, now, how about the UK? Again, reason to choose the UK is very high quality. Right? They have 10 of the best universities in the world. There is a lot of choice. There are over 3,000 different schools in the UK, and they teach almost any course, any subject. And time is something to think about. For example, in the US, it takes about 4 years to complete a university degree. Okay? What about the UK? Really, 3 years. Right? So you'll save time and money if you go to the UK. And the location is also very important. It's very easy to travel to Europe, gain a lot of new experiences. It's much cheaper. Of course, the most famous British university, the University of Oxford. And it's almost 1,000 years old. Educated 27 Nobel Prize winners and 26 British prime ministers. Right? It's very famous. And it's a large university. It's actually 38 separate colleges with hundreds of degree choices. And of course, if you like movies, Harry Potter was filmed at Oxford. It's a very beautiful campus, beautiful town. Another example is Imperial College London. Of course, this is number 10 in the world. Very popular with international students. 29% of all students are from other countries. They have famous engineering, medicine, business, and science programs. And they also have a popular international students' house, which helps students live and study in the UK. And some other unique majors, if you go to England, at Liverpool Hope University, you can become a Beatles historian. Sounds quite fun. Okay, now, Jameis is going to tell you a little bit more about Australia.
Okay, so why should you study in Australia? It's the best. Okay, but it also has the highest percentage of international students. Remember this, 1 in 5 students are international students. So there are 4 Australians and 1 Japanese, Chinese, American, British, whatever. Very, very international. Okay, why else? It's easy to get permanent residency. Permanent residency means you can live in Australia forever. If you study a critical skill, for example, dentist, surgeon, mining engineer, accountant, you can very easily live in Australia. If you're a student, you are able to work. In other countries, international students can't work very easily. But in Australia, you can work 20 hours every week. You can have a normal life and a cool job in Australia. Australian universities are very high in quality. Remember, in the top 100, we have 5. These universities are famous for research. For example, these things, penicillin, ultrasound, and Wi-Fi, are Australian. Ooh. And here's a good example of a university you can study at in Australia, the Australian National University, ANU. It has partnerships with many other high-quality universities like Oxford, Cambridge, and Todai. It's famous for law, science, and business. It's very, very good at linguistics, the study of language. Final reason you should choose Australia, yay, is it's nice. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yum yum, what's that? Kangaroo. Delicious. Okay, let's look at Canada. Why should you study in Canada? It is also high quality. They have 4 in the top 100. It's not expensive. Remember, Canada was the cheapest of the 4 countries we're looking at. Almost the same as Japan. There it is. Canada also has job opportunities. If you study in Canada, you can work on campus at university without a visa, and you can work for a year after university without a visa. So you can work in Canada easily. If you study in Canada, like Australia, it's easy to get permanent residency and stay for a long time. Canada is also nice. Ooh. No kangaroos. Okay. If you study in Canada, you should probably study at the University of Toronto. It's the 20th in the world. Very good. It has a lot of research. They do lots of research and they have lots of funding. Especially medical research. They're very good at that. So if you go to America, you can learn golf course management. In England, you can be a Beatles historian. In Canada, you can go to Humber College and learn a Bachelor of Comedy. And you can study how to be a stand-up comedian. What's the deal with that? Okay, so we talked about studying in America, Canada, England, and Australia, but all 4 countries are similar. If you go there, you are in an English-speaking country, So you can practice English, and they're very multicultural. You can meet people from every country. Very cool. Let's look at preparation. Before you study, what should you do? Well, it depends on the university, but you should probably get, or you need, some test result to show that you have good English. The most popular are TOEFL and the IELTS test. You need to pass these to study. You need some academic requirement, for example, finishing high school, and you need a student visa. What are the benefits of studying abroad? This is Japanese university students getting a job. So since the Lehman shock here, it's gone down, 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 down. It's harder for Japanese students to get a job. But Japanese students who have studied abroad, it's getting easier. So if you study abroad, it's easier to get a job in Japan after university. Why? Well, many companies are becoming more and more international and using English. So if you've studied abroad, you are attractive to these companies. Okay, we're finished for today. Thank you very much, everybody.